Joining us now, the President and CEO of the Job Creators Network, also a key advisor on the President's Hispanic Council, Alfredo Ortiz. Alfredo, great to have you.
Hey, good morning, John. Always great to be here, bright and early.
I know. I love your 6:30 segment. It's the best ever. Now, let me tell you, let's just get to these national polls after the debate last week. You know, just like we predicted, all the polls coming out showing Biden up by 25, and they're all saying it's a landslide, race is over. The Democrats are going to win the Senate, the House, everything, and why even bother to vote? Isn't this the same thing we went through in 2016?
Yeah, we definitely have already seen, I think, this movie, and we know how that movie turned out. So I think we're seeing much of the same here, and of course, we kind of expected this, John, right? I mean, this is pretty much par for the course for the Democrats.
Let's talk a little bit about tonight's debate between Kamala Harris and Vice President Pence, Senator Harris. What do you look for tonight, Alfredo?
Well, first of all, I know the Vice President Pence is going to do a phenomenal job. You remember, you and I actually met on one of the tours, the tax cut tours. I did about 14 of them with the Vice President. So I've seen him right up front in action, and actually many other events after that, and he's just phenomenal. I mean, he really is. He just delivers these, the punches extremely well. Very different than Trump, of course, but he does it extremely well. But I will say, John, we can't underestimate Kamala. I mean, she was a prosecutor. She will try to prosecute her case, but in this particular instance, it's going to be impossible for her to dig herself out of the hole that, quite frankly, she has dug for herself over the past several years, and especially over the past several months in the debates and stuff like that, because look, she clearly is in favor of defunding the police, the Green New Deal, packing the courts. I mean, everything that, quite frankly, Biden sort of skated by in the last debate. I think the vice president is going to nail Kamala on.
Well, look, he's got to do it tonight because, I mean, Biden's not going to do it, and the mainstream fake news media is not going to do it. I mean, Biden had a press conference yesterday. What's the objective, Alfredo Ortiz, of a press conference? The objective is to engage the press. So he has a press conference. He makes his remarks. He closes his folder, he leaves. He takes no questions. And then the reaction of the press is, wow, he made such a great presentation. Wow, he's so good. Wow, he's really on today. Hey, best ever. But he doesn't take a single question, and yet they don't even complain. Could you imagine if Trump did that? They'd be screaming questions at him. They'd just say, oh, okay, Mr. Vice President, thank you for coming and sharing your thoughts with us. I mean, it's sick and gross.
Yeah,
and we have to deal with this every single day.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. And look, at the end of the day, this is why, we got to keep going back and talking about results, right? Because when you look about it, right now, we just got that jobs report, John, last week,
Right.
And when you look at what's happened there, 11.2 million jobs have been created over the past 5 months. Unemployment has gone down from around 15% to below 8%, pretty much almost cut that in half. I was really excited to see that. You and I spoke a lot about that we had to get that unemployment rate down below 8%. So, we're there. And just imagine if some of these Democrat governors and mayors, in their respective states, had actually not implemented these absolutely draconian measures and really tried to work like their brethren Republican governors and Republican mayors, although there aren't as many Republican mayors, unfortunately, but definitely Republican governors. Look at the unemployment rates. I think in Georgia, for example, with Governor Kemp there, I think the unemployment rate is now like about 5.5%. And, Florida's doing equally well, right? So we will probably be in that 5 to 6% range, probably more in the 5.5% range nationally if folks like, California and New York got their crap together.
So let me just ask you something. And I agree with that. We're at 7-7 now. You and I said 3 months ago, if we get under 8, Trump wins in a landslide. Now it's 7-7. I think it is going to go to 6. My wife and Joseph the Fräulein and Joseph just spent 2 weeks in Florida. He had 2 baseball tournaments and was able to do classes online and all that. So they spent 2 weeks in Fort Myers, Southwest Florida. And Ann told me, you go to Florida, you go to Southwest Florida, she said, it's like you're back in the real world. There's people going to football games. They're out. There's no masks. They're eating. They're doing whatever. There's no restrictions. Everybody's working. Traffic all over the place. You're back to normal. So we're going to get this unemployment down to 6%. How does Trump not win with that kind of a recovery?
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, but we also have to, and this is where I think the vice president can do a great job, today. We got to remind the American public, right, that the biggest worry if Biden gets elected is first and foremost taxes. I mean, he has point blank says he's going to raise your taxes. Again, I've never seen a candidate where literally he says, read my lips, all new taxes, right? The Green New Deal, I just mentioned that, the public option. Everybody seems to try to, they're trying to position this public option as the this makes sense kind of hybrid, kind of middle ground road. No, there is no mistake here that the public option is really just what I call kind of the local train to socialized medicine. Bernie Sanders was the express train to socialized medicine with Medicare for all. But the Biden option, the Biden plan, is the same thing. It's going to get us to the same part, which is socialized medicine. So we got to remind folks, and at the beginning there you mentioned, the future of our country and our very way of life is at stake, John. I mean, this election is about security. It's our personal security, our economic security, our health security. All of this is at risk, and that's why at Job Creators Network we kicked off keepamerica.com, because we have to make sure that everybody gets to the polls, whether it's early or on November 3rd, whatever, because, John, people have to remember in 2016 the election was not won by millions. Thank God we still have an electoral college, right? Because, by the way, you know what the Dems are going to try to do if they take over. That's going to go away. They're going to at least try to make it go away. But remember, the 2016 election was decided by 11,000 votes in Michigan, 23,000 votes in Wisconsin, 44,000 votes in Pennsylvania. So every vote is critical. This is truly the most consequential election in our history if we want to maintain and preserve our American way of life.
Well, they're going to try to steal it, and you know that. I mean, what Steve Bannon has been saying, and the tour that he and I have that have been going around is we were in New York, we were in Philadelphia. Next week we'll be on Saturday. We'll be in Richmond with the tour, keeping it going. But basically, what's going to happen is Trump is going to run up a huge victory on game day, and that's going to be in-person voting, early voting, votes that are counted. And then we sit around and we wait every day for the mail ballots to come trickling in. And you have these states, Alfredo, like Michigan, that tried to push off the date of accepting ballots to 2 weeks. So basically, here's their plan, okay? Trump won Michigan by 75,000 votes, so they have to find 100. And they go find them, and they show up in a ballot in a box. And then, here they are, Biden won. I mean, how do you combat that?
Yeah, well, it's you got to get to the polls, right? And one other saying, and this is our line here, which is, do a little, do a lot, do your part. And that part is go to the polls. Look, I am concerned about, the mail-in ballots or the absentee ballots. And so getting to the polls is going to be a critical part. In many states, actually, early voting has already started. And when you go to our website, you can find out information on that. We encourage people, look, if you can go to the grocery store and pick up eggs and milk, if you can go to the gas station and pump gas in your car, my goodness, you can certainly go to the polls, put your mask on, put your gloves on if you want, right? But go vote in person. We really are encouraging that. I think it's really, really critical.
All right, so keepamerica.com. Go to keepamerica.com. Are you satisfied so far with your campaign and how it's gone?
Yeah, no, we think it's great. I mean, look, like I said, elections are not won by millions; they're won by thousands, really, because of the Electoral College process. And so, with our campaign, it's really about voter education, right? Getting out there, getting people to understand, where their polls. When you sign up to, on our campaign, you're going to get an email. It's going to have the most up-to-date voting information with your zip code, using state-of-the-art, trusted sources you can rely on, because, again, these are trusted sources that you can rely on. That's very important. You'll be sent reminders on tasks that can make a difference in November. We're going to make it easy for you to recruit your friends, your family, anyone else you know, right? Because, we've got to be able to get the force out there, right? And we talked about be part of kind of this volunteer force. You know what I like calling it? It truly is an army, right, that we're trying to create here. We need that kind of army. We've got thousands and thousands and thousands of true patriots that are signing up here, to be able to influence and talk to their friends and families and help them understand, how important it is to get to the vote. So we are very happy, yourself and all of your colleagues, across the board, conservative radio talk show hosts are all in on this. Sean Hannity just the other day did us a favor and he tweeted out on the campaign how important it is. It's just so important, John, right? I mean, people have to understand. I just had a couple friends yesterday text me. They're like, hey, we were going to just, wait, or we were going to do absentee ballots. What do you think? I'm like, look, if your polls are already open in your state, go vote. Go now, right? There's no reason to wait. There's no reason to do an absentee ballot. Go vote, And so we're happy.
Why do an absentee ballot? Just go vote. And if you're going to be out of town, vote early. I mean, obviously, if you can't do it or you have a health risk or something, you have to do an absentee ballot. Do it.
Yeah, of course.
But the best thing to do is to go vote. Go vote now, and you can do in almost every state. There's some form of early voting. You can go vote to your registrar. You can vote early, but vote in person. Make sure your vote is counted. But then the other thing is you got to get involved, man, because the hope that we have here, Alfredo, is we have an army. The Trump campaign nationally has trained over 2.1 million volunteers that we have deployed. Now, these aren't just people that called up and they're stuffing an envelope. They went through a day of training. And in Virginia alone, as the chairman here, I've got thousands. I think we've trained something like 3,000 people. I mean, it's a huge number that we have deployed that are on the street every day knocking on doors.
And John, it's so important. I mean, so we were looking at some survey data on the last election. Did you know that based on that survey data, more than 7 million conservatives didn't vote in the last election? Think about that. 7 million conservatives did not vote. Imagine if we could get even half of them to come out. Mm-hmm. If, again, the election in Michigan was won by 11,000 votes, or 23,000 votes in Wisconsin, 44,000 in Pennsylvania, right? This will make a difference. This will make a difference because every single one of these people that you're training and you're helping train, or that we're influencing, we're reaching out to and touching with our campaign is going to make the difference in this November election.
Well, that's going to be the difference is, boom, how many people are going to go out and get engaged in this election, because it's about mobilization. And getting engaged 4 years ago might have meant putting up a sign and voting. Now getting engaged means going to keepamericaamerica.com, getting involved there, volunteering, calling the Trump campaign, getting your friends out, doing something. You're all 10 for 20. You got to get involved. I mean, that's the only way we're going to save the country because, as you said, Alfredo, our very way of life is on the ballot.
It really is. I mean, again, when you think about it, I have to emphasize this. Our security, everything, our personal security, our economic security, our health security, they are all at risk, John. All at risk. I mean, we know exactly what's going to happen if the Democrats win. If the Democrats take over, taxes go up, socialized medicine, Green New Deal. I mean, it's just so black and white at this point. It's just so obvious what's going to happen, right? We got to defend our way of life, and this is the way to do it. Again, we encourage people, and thank you for being such a supporter of it. KeepAmericaAmerica.com. Do a little, do a lot, do your part, but please go to KeepAmericaAmerica.com.
All right, tell us about the Hispanic vote. You were predict 41%. You've done that since the beginning. I've had other people on telling me it's going to get to 50%. Where's it stand now, of Alfredo Ortiz?
Yeah, I tell you, John, I am feeling great about the Hispanic vote. I mean, I am seeing videos come in from folks all over across the country. There's one great one. It's like they came up with this great Hispanic sounding song with great music, and it's like, Vota Trump. I mean, it's great. I mean, enthusiasm amongst the Hispanics for Trump is just sky high. I mean, I may be pushing the 43% now. Remember, I gave you that little range of 41 to 43. It may even be the 43%, but I'm telling you, Hispanics are in for Trump because they understand that he did more for their economic security, quite frankly, than any other president, quite frankly, in recent history has done. When you look at home ownership just before COVID, and again, they understand. They're not blaming the president for this pandemic. They understand that this came from China, right? And so, but they're looking at how they were performing just before that, right? Home ownership was at record numbers. Unemployment was at record lows. Wage growth was at record highs. Latinas, entrepreneurs, for example, were the most active group of any entrepreneurial group, and seeing, just massive success. And so Hispanics understand President Trump knows what to do to make sure that they're successful and that the economy is number one. And by the way, that is their number one issue, John. It's jobs and the economy. That's what they care about. They're not focused on immigration. They're not focused on all these other issues that the Democrats say that they're focused on. It's jobs and the economy. And that actually came from the very left-leaning advocacy group called Unidos US out in Washington. That actually was from their own poll. Jobs and the economy, the number one issue for Hispanics, and they understand that Trump knows how to do that.
Well, I tell you what, I don't see how we lose if Trump gets 43% of the Hispanic vote. We're also seeing internal numbers that's saying he's getting 18 to 20% of the black vote. These are numbers that are unheard of. I mean, he got 8% of the black vote in 2016. Right. We're looking at every poll we have, he's at least 15. He's somewhere between 15 and 20%. So we look at our internal numbers, and then we look at the national polls that come out, and they're absurd. I mean, they're absolutely asinine. I think there was an ABC or Ipsos poll has Biden up by like 19. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Do you really think Biden is going to win by 18? Really? I mean, come on.
Yeah,
this is just a joke. It's like you said when you got on. We already saw this movie. It's so boring. It's so stupid. But yet, you got all the talking heads showing these and once again saying it's a landslide. I only got a minute. I got to go. What did you think of the president's speech when he got out of Walter Reed?
Look, I mean, I think it was heartfelt. I do believe he has a very different view and understanding, and knows what it takes to have to battle this out. And I think people needed to hear that. I mean, people have to remember that the 99.5%, I believe, or 95.5%, I think, is the recovery rate. I mean, the likelihood of you dying from COVID really is relatively low unless you have these comorbidities, right? And you're also that that higher age group. And quite frankly, I mean, given the president, we do know he's a little bit on the heavier side, but overall, I mean, and he's a little that age group. But look, I mean, he worked through it. He was given some tremendous therapies. But again, I think that idea of we will work through this, I mean, that's just kind of what Americans do, right? We get through some of the worst times and the most difficult times together. And I think that's what he was trying to just basically convey to the American public.
I thought it was one of his finest moments. Were you shocked at all the way the media portrayed that, the fake news media? Selling the killing people.
Yeah, I wasn't shocked at all. I mean, that's just so them. I mean, I was waiting for it, John, waiting for it.
All right, man. Thank you, Alfredo Ortiz. Great to have you with us. Go to keepamerica.com, keepamerica.com. We'll be right back. Stay with us.